New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network.
Happy Friday, everyone. It is Friday night here on the New Thought Media Network, or Friday afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. And I just want to say welcome, welcome. I'm Barbara Jean, and we have got some good stories for you this evening. So let's get started. A man donates an empty field to his town so it can be made into a community orchard. How cool is that? When Mr. Michel Eprichard inherited a large empty field in Western France, he didn't think much of it. Overgrown with weeds and childhood memories of walks along the tree line, for a long time, neither he nor anyone else in his family had any interest in developing it. That all changed with a change of his heart when he had the idea to donate the entire land parcel to the town of his childhood, provided the mayor and council promised to turn it into a fruit orchard and community garden that the whole town could benefit from. Mr. Aprinchard warned the municipality that should it choose to accept their land donation, it would come with a cost of developing it for the project, garden and orchard project, which the man estimated would cost about the equivalent of $12,000. The mayor accepted. And the first condition is to create the garden with specific varieties of fruit trees. And the second condition, undoubtedly the most important, is that the entire community could benefit from it. And that's exactly what they've done. There are apple trees, pear trees, and plum trees. Now we will let them grow. We will monitor diseases. We'll take care of the soil. And then people will come to pick their own apples or make jam. And many in the community came out to assist in planting the first 50 trees. This year, another 50 will be planted, as well as a new hedge, flower beds, and flowering trees. It'll take about 4 years before the first harvest, but no one seems impatient. The project already fulfills its function to gather, excite, and return the land to a common use. What a great use of that land, and what a wonderful thing to do for that small community. Okay, so lots of people doing good things. A Swedish company pays employees to form bonds in friend care trial. Yeah. A pharmacy chain in Sweden has started running a trial across its locations with a simple aim. Can a few minutes a day of free time help reduce loneliness? Sweden's government recently commissioned a large social study about loneliness across its citizenry, and what it found made for heavy reading. 8% of adults don't have a single close friend. The major Swedish pharmacy chain, Apotek Jartak, is allowing its workers to have 15 minutes per day or 1 hour per month to walk away from the register, the counter, or the shelves and make a phone call, plan an event, step out to meet someone in person, or just have a chat with coworkers. Any activity that promotes friendship and friend making is permitted under the friend care policy. The company will even give you $100 a year for the purpose. Monica Magnusson, CEO, told the BBC that the idea of the friend care trial came following another initiative that trained pharmacists pardon me, to recognize loneliness among its clientele. It invited its staff to ask something out of a series of questions designed to help people, particularly seniors and others who might suffer from social isolation, to come out of their shell. The idea got Magnuson thinking about whether the company was doing enough along the same lines for its own people. Yasmin Lindberg is one of the employees that the BBC spoke to for its report on the initiative, and she said she often feels lonely since separating from her partner 4 years earlier. Though her teenage kids live with her every other week, she often arrives home from work too tired to go out or make plans with friends. Lindbergh said the 15 minutes have made a big difference to her as they proved the kick up the backside she needed to make plans and put herself out there more often. Something that Daniel Ek, a Swedish psychologist, told the BBC is something the country struggles with. The Swedish mentality is like you shouldn't disturb others. We value personal space a lot, and we have a hard time breaking the ice. Many Swedish businesses give their employees something called a friskvard, which can be a compensatory benefit related to wellness activities like fitness courses or massages. And this is a wonderful way of getting people to spend a little time with each other and get together. I love that idea. It's a great idea. Okay, well, four sisters invent an electric tractor with mom and dad, and it's selling in 5 countries. Hmm. A big Swiss family has invented Europe's first all electric solar assisted tractor and is now selling the vehicle in 5 countries. The Nusel family lives in the canton of Schwyz, where patriarch and father of four, Sepp Nusel, has been building tractors for over 20 years under the brand name Rigatrack AG. In 2019, with the help of his 4 daughters, he debuted the continent's first all electric tractor, and 6 years later, the family won a national award for their invention. The development of the electric tractor was a long process with setbacks, said Teresa, the family's second oldest daughter and managing director of Rigatrack AG. The idea actually came from seeing how many growing operations, farmers, dairies, and feedlots had solar panels on their roofs. The Nusels thought it would be brilliant if the companies could use that electricity in more ways. Given that a tractor spends a lot of time sitting around under the sun, a solar panel on the roof might make a substantial difference to total range and running time. The idea pushed the four father-daughters team to develop a prototype while Therese was at the University of Dresden in 2018. When we started, many of the necessary individual parts were not yet on the market. Today, the Rigatrack SKE 40 is sold in Austria, Norway, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland, and even made it into the famous PC game called Farming Simulator. I've seen that game. It wields 4 electric motors totaling 84 kilowatts, including one for the front wheels, another for the back wheels, and a third for starting. It's too small for the heaviest AG chores like plowing, but it's widely used for vegetable farming and snow plowing. What a brilliant idea. In a day when there's all sorts of challenges with, what we have for power shortages here and there, this is a good thing. Well, we're going to take a short little commercial break here, and then we'll be right back with more good news. You're watching the New Thought Media Network, and now the good news. We'll be right back.
Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk. Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. Center for Spiritual Living Denver. Unity of Garden Park. New Thought Philadelphia. The Sunshine Cathedral. Unity of Savannah. And the Om Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network.
And we're back. Well, this is a fun story. My dad used to make sauerkraut all the time in a big crock, and here we are with a big crock, and this woman's got a big smile. That Croc sat on her porch for 40 years and in an auction fetched $32,000. Yeah. So, like many elderly folks in the Midwest whose families use stoneware crocks for sauerkraut, Lois Jurgens held on to one for 40 years. It sat on her porch, weathering decades of harsh Nebraska winters until early this month when she was planning for a yard sale. She had a notion the heavy crock might be worth $100 if it could be put up for auction instead of selling it at the yard sale. So she called Ken Branmer. Coincidentally, his auction house had already secured dozens of ancient red winged crocs for an event that would draw 300 excited bidders to Buffalo County on January 10th. When the 90-year-old called Ken saying she had an old croc, he was hesitant because all his promotional photos of items for the auction had already been printed and posted online. But he thought, what the heck? I'll drive out and take a look. When he saw the huge 30-gallon red wing croc and looked closely at the details, he knew this would be the darling of the auction. Lois told Ken she hoped maybe it could get $100 if it goes under his hammer. And instead of giving her $100 on the spot, the honest businessman said he was confident they would get at least that sum. I think you're going to be surprised, he told her. The day of the auction was her 91st birthday, according to Colleen Williams, a Nebraska news host who first broke the story on Facebook. Lois was volunteering at church that morning, so she missed her own piece being sold, but she headed over as soon as she could. When Ken saw Lois had arrived, he paused the auction to give her perhaps the best birthday present she'd ever received. We did get a little better than $100, he said in front of the delighted crowd. We got you $32,000. Ken had known the 30-gallon crock with molded handles and butterfly design was very rare, especially because it was stamped with the company name twice, once on the top and once on the bottom. And Lois's crock was also salt glazed rather than zinc glazed. It's estimated that only 20% of Red Wing's glazed pieces were signed on the side. These tan-colored wares were manufactured in Red Wing, Minnesota before the turn of the century, beginning in 1877 until about 1900. These primitive pieces were often decorated with artistic cobalt blue representations of items of like leaves and butterflies, flowers, birds, etc., and sealed with a brown Albany slip glaze on the interior to keep the contents from seeping into the porous clay. Any irregularities can be highly prized by Red Wing stoneware collectors, and because thousands of the crocks in various styles were produced daily, there were bound to be some mistakes. Lois's piece, being stamped twice with the Red Wing company name, was even more valuable. Selling that rare 30-gallon Red Wing crock was one of those once-in-a-lifetime things, Ken wrote on Facebook. It really, really is. That is an amazing story. Okay, well, here's an elderly man driving a beat-up truck. A truck is a little more than beat up. So the elderly man busted up truck was a joke meme until a stranger's heart-warming idea to crowdfund a new one for him. His truck was the vehicle equivalent of Frankenstein, a green mishmash of dents and dings and disjointed panels. The 2000s Chevy Silverado became something of a famous eyesore in South Bend, Indiana, earning sideways glances and second looks wherever Mo Riles went. I thought it was AI and didn't know if it was real, one diner patron told Steve Hartman of CBS News. It's unbelievable how the thing even moves. I did a double take because I couldn't believe the sight of it, one woman said. Before long, the disbelief spread to social media where jokes poured in from wisecrackers across the internet. Where's the duct tape when you need it? Looks like the Hulk smashed it. One speed bump away from splitting in half. Sure, Mo heard the jokes and saw the sideways glances, but the truck ran just fine. The state of Indiana doesn't require inspections, obviously. And Mo, who worked at the Dollar Tree store, wasn't in a financial position to upgrade, especially since facing recent health challenges. So the truck rolled on, at least until Colin Crowell saw the photo. Cullen, who owns Car Guys Auto Detailing, wanted to do more than joke about the unsightly relic. He figured that whoever was driving it likely needed a pick me up instead of another internet pun. I just thought there's got to be something more to why this truck looks like this. I just put two and two together. He started a crowdfunding campaign, hoping to raise money for Riles and betting that community support would produce more than social media memes. The vehicle is dangerously broken, literally falling apart, and has been seen in parking lots looking immobile. Yet somehow, Mo manages to drive it day after day. Parts fall off, the truck appears to be split in half, but Mo never lets that stop him from getting to work or handling his daily responsibilities. With the support of local businesses and neighbors, I believe we can make a real difference in Mo's life and show what our community is capable of when we come together. The results arrived quickly. Donations poured in from people all over Northwest Indiana and beyond. More than 500 people pitched in to raise over $26,000 for Mo. Earlier this month, his Franken truck took its last ride, heading toward a Chevy dealership in town where he received a shiny 2019 Chevy Silverado truck that looked brand new. How great is that? Whenever Mo thinks about it, his emotions become overwhelming. Now, beyond the jokes and embarrassment, there's a shiny new symbol of compassion and kindness that sits in his driveway. That is beautiful. I love that. I just love that. Well, it's a sweet story. It's a dad's emotional reaction when he sees color for the very first time at age 61. A 61-year-old father broke into tears when finally seeing color in his world for the first time after receiving a special Christmas gift. Jim Gogan always had trouble seeing reds and greens. In fact, when he joined the Air Force, he wasn't able to become a pilot because he couldn't read the radar screens. For years, his family talked about gifting him a pair of special colorblind glasses. But in December, his son Kyle was finally able to make it a reality, thanks to a bonus from his employer. A video shared by the family shows Jim in tears after seeing colors clearly for the first time. He's never been able to tell color, said 39-year-old Kyle from South Carolina. He'll say things like, grab my blue shirt, and it's green. Before giving him the glasses, Kyle had printed out colorblind tests for the whole family to take, and Jim got almost every question wrong. Then Kyle handed him the glasses, and the results were immediate. As Jim placed them over his eyes and looked at the colored drawing of a Christmas tree, tears began to well up in his eyes. It was a very emotional moment watching my dad react, said Kyle. After composing himself, Jim retook the test and this time got every answer correct. The color red delighted him the most. He kept commenting on how beautiful the bricks on houses were. The next day, the family took Jim on a drive to enjoy the outdoors in all its colorful glory. How sweet is that? I didn't even know they made glasses for people with color blindness. That's so cool. All right. Well, this story has a happy ending, which I'm really grateful for. So, a grieving widow was living at her husband's grave. Yes, in a cemetery, until an angel appeared. What began as a heartbreaking discovery in Syracuse, New York, has turned into a powerful story of compassion, connection, and second chances. In December, police officers were stunned to learn that a 55-year-old woman named Rhea Holmes had been quietly living inside Oakwood Cemetery. For Holmes, the cemetery wasn't just a place of mourning, it was the last place that felt like home. Her story traces back to October 2020, the day her husband died. Holmes and her husband Eddie had been married for 26 happy years and were finally preparing to buy their dream home. Their offer was accepted, and that very same day, Eddie died suddenly from a heart attack. Instead of moving forward with the purchase, Holmes used the down payment to buy a cemetery plot for her husband, complete with a bench where she could sit and remember him. But as time passed, grief took a heavy toll. Holmes fell into depression, lost her job, and was eventually evicted. Too proud to move into a shelter, she chose to stay at the one place she felt she still owned, her husband's grave. Beginning in May of 2025, Holmes spent her days volunteering at a nearby food pantry. At night, she quietly slipped into the cemetery to sleep unnoticed for months. I assumed that I was going to die there, she said, until, as she put it, along comes an angel. That angel arrived in December when a retired officer working at the cemetery noticed Holmes and alerted police. Syracuse police officer Jamie Pastorello responded and immediately stepped in to help. I wasn't going to let Rhea sleep outside again, Pastorello told CBS News. What followed was a remarkable turnaround. Pastorella paid for a hotel room, then connected Holmes with the president of Lemoyne College, who allowed her to stay on campus while students were away for winter break. He also launched a crowdfunding campaign and introduced her to the nonprofit, A Tiny Home for Good, which provides affordable tiny homes for people in need. When a home became available, Holmes finally had a place of her own. While nothing can replace the love she shared with her husband, the emotional reunion between Holmes and Pastorello, filled with heartfelt hugs, made one thing clear: kindness can change the course of a life. Thanks to one officer's compassion, Holmes now has a future far from the cemetery she once called home. That was a really sweet thing to do. Well, there was some water-soaked street in Chicago, and a crossing guard picked up the kids and carried them across to keep their feet dry. How great is that? Joe Sass, a crossing guard at Jameson Elementary School on the city's north side, arrived at work to find the street outside the school flooded after a 100-year-old water main burst. Icy water covered the road, creating a risky situation for children trying to get to school safely and dry. But Sass didn't hesitate. He began picking them up one by one and carrying them across the street, making sure they stayed dry and out of harm's way. It's not in the job description, he said, but I'll do just about anything for these kids. His selfless act didn't go unnoticed. A news helicopter captured the moment from above, showing Sass carefully carrying children across the flooded street. A simple yet powerful image of kindness in action. Don't you love it? There's so many wonderful, kind people in our world, and sometimes we forget that. Okay, this story is very sweet. For many students in special education programs, school spirit and typical extracurricular experiences are, they can look very different. There are no team jerseys, no cheerleading uniforms, and often fewer opportunities to take part in activities many students enjoy. That really stayed with Wes Massey, a special education teacher in Georgia, and he decided to do something about it. A lot of our kids don't get to participate in things like basketball or cheerleading, Massey explained. I want these kids to enjoy what other kids would enjoy. With the help of volunteers and donations, Massey surprised 31 students in the state's alternate assessment program and their families with something many had never expected before: their first overnight trip. The destination was Great Wolf Lodge in LaGrange, Georgia, and families didn't have to pay a single dollar. Transportation, meals, lodging, and activities were fully covered. Planning the trip required extensive coordination. Multiple buses and support vehicles were arranged to accommodate students with complex medical needs, including those requiring oxygen or feeding tubes. When families arrived, the surprises continued. Each student received gift cards at check-in, giving them a chance to make choices independently, including buying their own lunches. Students and families also enjoyed activities many were experiencing for the very first time, such as family putt-putt, Build-A-Bear, and interactive games at the resort. Support for the trip extended beyond the school system. As the buses traveled, the county sheriff personally escorted them, highlighting just how much the community rallied behind the students. For Massey, the message was simple but powerful. I know life has been hard and there have been challenges, he said, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure you're included. you're important and that you matter. Now, that's a message for all of us. You are included, you're important, and you matter. Wow, great, great thing. I love that. Well, here's a silly song as we come close to the end of our show tonight. How a silly 11-second song about Dr. Pepper changed her life overnight. Romeo Bingham of Tacoma, Washington never imagined that a silly song she made for fun would change her life, but that's exactly what happened. The 25-year-old caregiver posted an 11-second TikTok on December 23rd, 2025, singing a playful, homemade jingle about Dr. Pepper. It wasn't polished, it wasn't planned, it was just Romeo being her joyful, goofy self. Within weeks, the video exploded. The short clip racked up more than 60 million views, quickly spreading across TikTok and beyond. Subway, Popeyes, Wingstop, Welch's Fruit Snacks, and Buffalo Wing Jumps, Wild Wings all jumped into the comments asking if she'd write jingles for them too. Then came the moment no one saw coming. Dr. Pepper officially licensed Romeo's song and turned it into a national advertisement, one that aired for the very first time during college football's biggest game of the year, the championship matchup between Indiana and Miami. From a casual TikTok to a nationally televised commercial, all in a matter of weeks. From a Oops, I'm trying to get my cursor to work. The brand confirmed it will continue working with Romeo on more social contact in the months ahead, turning her once silly idea into the start of something much bigger. For Romeo, the moment is still surreal. I would like to thank all my supporters and all of the Dr. Pepper fans and everybody in between who rallied together to make this moment happen. See, being silly can be highly effective. And now our hero story of the week. When an 85-year-old widow asked for some help staying warm, a stranger did so much more. 85-year-old widow in North Carolina picked up the phone to call a local tree removal company. She wasn't looking for a miracle, just firewood to stay warm. The woman, known as Nana Abernathy, explained that she was out of wood, had recently lost her husband, and didn't have her Social Security check coming in until the following week. Unable to afford the cost, she was hoping someone might help. That call reached Paul Britton, owner of Britton's Tree and Crane Service, and what happened next went far beyond a simple delivery. And we have some video for you.
Load of wood for free. I ain't coming back for no money.
You ain't going.
I ain't gonna charge you. I'm gonna let you have it for free.
Thank you.
I know you said that you was having a rough time, and that's what we try to do. We try to help people out, and I wanted to bless you before Christmas, and we're not coming back for no money.
That's the nicest Christmas present I could get.
It's all for you. Can I get a hug?
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. I hope you have a great Christmas and a great holiday, and I hope the Lord blesses you.
Okay.
Okay? You have a good evening.
He just did.
He just did. That's right.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll get you took care of, and we'll get this dumped out right here for you.
Okay. Thank you.
You have a great. That's a beautiful load of wood right there.
He even talked about how it had been, cut up small so it'd be easier for her to handle. Just a beautiful story all the way around. Well, that's our good news for this Friday, January 30th. And I just got to say that it's always a joy and a pleasure to be with y'all. And I just want to remind you that the New Thought Media Network is a beautiful not-for-profit agency that you can help to support. If you like receiving the good news and you like receiving all of the great stuff that's on the channel day in and day out, please consider making a donation to ntmedia.org and just hit that donate link. Well, that's it for this Friday, and I want to look forward to seeing you again next time. But in the meantime, like, share, and subscribe. You've been watching And Now the Good News on the New Thought Media Network. Good night.